You're wasting your time. Think about how many times you have observed other people's lives without realizing that yours is slipping away. Thanks to this Zen story, you will learn not to focus on others and think about yourself. There is no point in denying that this historical period continually offers us distractions, and social media and smartphones have become the absolute protagonists of our every free moment, distancing us, most of the time, from our spirituality and personal growth. Thanks to this video, you will understand the importance of working on yourself in order to prevent time from passing without having lived your life to the full. For this reason, make yourself comfortable and stay until the end to collect valuable lessons for your personal growth and to rediscover not only motivation, but also your emotional balance. Before continuing, however, subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and share the video. In this way, you will help us produce valuable content every day. In this Buddhist story, we will enter the life of the elderly monk Kenji, and we will draw teachings that will guide us on our personal spiritual path. Kenji, thanks to his life full of faith and dedication, had always committed himself to following the teachings of Buddha. His behavior was exemplary, but despite the commitment and attention put into this path, it was not uncommon for him to find himself distracted by the actions of his brothers, even in intimate and extremely personal moments such as meditation. Kenji constantly observed the other monks, looking for any sign of their spiritual progress. He wasn't always able to focus on his personal inner growth, but he looked for signs and symbols of their spiritual awakening in others, as if he wanted to map their path, inevitably losing focus on his path. He focused his attention on those who meditated more deeply and monitored those who lived their spiritual path with less dedication. He didn't realize it, but he was wasting his energy focusing on others to carefully understand worlds that weren't his. Time passed and he failed to see that this attitude only led to frustration and wasted time. It was only after a deep meditation that the monk decided to venture deeper into his spiritual search and went to seek advice from another older monk who was more aware of his spirituality. Kenji came to him with deep respect and admiration, ready to share his concerns. It didn't take long for the elder to recognize the younger monk's internal struggles and thus wanted to remind Kenji of the uniqueness of the spiritual quest, underlining the importance of directing attention inward to cultivate awareness. Again, thanks to his great experience, he continued to explain that this attitude that Kenji was having did nothing but pose obstacles to what is his unique and personal spiritual search by connecting his path to dissatisfaction and useless frustrations. He wanted to share a splendid metaphor like this. You see life as a forest. The individual people who live in it are flowers, each with its own beauty, rarity, and uniqueness. Flowers do not compare themselves to each other and have no interest in wanting to be equal to each other. They flower and live according to their nature, but all together, they make the forest a beautiful place full of magic. Kenji had never thought from this point of view. He lived in the community of the monastery, and yet he had never seen himself and his brothers as pieces of the same puzzle. They were all different and yet all essential in contributing to the serene and spiritual growth environment in which they lived. At this point, the elder looked our monk in the eyes and wanted to underline once again that every individual presents himself to others with his strengths, but also weaknesses, with his virtues, but also with his defects. The message at that point was extremely clear and resonated within Kenji's soul. Each path is an extremely personal path. The important thing is to focus on cultivating your own internal garden and not constantly worry about that of others. However, this does not mean not helping those around us in times of need or not noticing the difficulties of others, but simply leaving the personal space of another person and respecting their uniqueness without judging. Furthermore, during meditation, he had to remember that it was necessary to contribute to mental well-being, to stay in focus with fundamental concepts such as the here and now, allowing the mind to calm down. The same thing turns out to be important in daily activities. It is necessary to carry them out with care and dedication in order to rediscover too often forgotten sensations such as joy and peace. Kenji continued to listen to the teachings of this Buddhist story and suddenly felt his heart calm down and a sense of peace and satisfaction take root in his mind. Weeks passed and our monk carefully applied the advice he learned from the wise old man. Once free from concern for the progress of others, he gradually began to experience a sense of tranquility which gradually led to acceptance of the self. It was, in particular, in a specific meditation that the internal change occurred. He had finally learned that comparing himself to others was nothing more than a useless burden. Now his vision of life was more rewarding and full, more in focus with his goals for improvement. From that moment, Kenji experienced inner peace and joy, more and more every day, and blossomed as flowers naturally do in the forest. The lesson learned was precious. Focusing on yourself and not on others allows you to listen to your heart and clarify which path to take. At this point, you must also know that Buddhist culture does not separate the self from the environment. It shows you everything as if it were a large ecosystem. If we focus on ourselves, we are able to also improve relationships with the things and people that surround us, bringing significant benefits to our mental health and the quality of our life. Focusing energy on ourselves empowers us. We become an attraction for others who in turn will take inspiration from our thoughts and movements. Remember that social media, which constantly absorbs and distracts us in every free moment, in no way represents the measure of our value, and likes cannot be a mirror of the quality of our life. The real connection, the one that really matters, is the connection we create by communicating with ourselves and others in an authentic and meaningful way. At this point in your journey, especially if you recognize yourself in this situation, we invite you to take an important step by distancing yourself from the digital world as much as possible. Experience it as a challenge and as a method to look inside and discover. Discover what is already within you and is just waiting to be brought out, cultivated, and explored. Live every day as a new page to write with contents that come solely from you and not from what does not enrich you, and which comes from observing the mistakes of others. It's all in your hands. Focus only on the things and people that really matter and that help your spiritual growth. Remember to take care of yourself and actively contribute to the world around you. Every day and every moment can be a step towards celebrating you, your characteristics, and your humanity. You can do the same thing Kenji did by understanding the importance of the present moment and of you in the here and now, focusing on your best version. Discover your inner beauty and use it to rebuild your emotional balance and to do good for the people you love. Every moment must become an opportunity to heal yourself by working on spiritual and personal growth. You can do it even during the simplest and most everyday actions or while walking and taking a stroll. You have to be present in what you are doing. In this way, you will see that your life will be simpler, lighter, and more peaceful. In this way, you will eliminate the weight of the judgment of others. You will appreciate yourself more, and you will be grateful for your days. Cultivating inner peace and awareness is a journey of growth and fulfillment, and every step should be celebrated. The noise of the world around you must not capture your attention because it will only distract you from your path. The key is to focus on yourself, on your path of personal growth, and on maintaining your authenticity. As you acquire these valuable characteristics, you will live in a fuller and more satisfying way. The world needs people from whom they can learn to love themselves and others, and who can maintain attention and judgment towards the inner self.